Premier League, of course, is the greatest league in the world, they say. And it's certainly the most exciting league in the world. And I think in terms of quality now, it's where the money is, it's where the big players want to be, and where the best coaches in Europe want to be. And this weekend, and indeed this season so far, it has been really quite exciting. And this weekend was no exception. Liverpool are top of the table, having scraped through against Crystal Palace 2-1 away from home. Arsenal beaten by Aston Villa, who beat Manchester City 4 days earlier. And that has been an interesting trajectory they're on. And we're joined now by John Giles to talk about the weekend's football and where we are in this season. John, it's a long time since Manchester City have not led the league all season virtually. They've never been in fourth position that I can remember, but they had a kind of bad week. They lost away to Villa 1-0, and they scraped a 2-1 win against Luton yesterday with a Jack Grealish goal. So it's an open Premier League, and it's good really. It makes it very interesting. It's Liverpool, Arsenal, Aston Villa, Man City, and Spurs, and then it's Manchester United, who, despite how bad they seem to be playing, they're still in sixth position, but a long way, 10 points behind Liverpool. Let me ask you first, John, about Manchester City. Early in the season, you said to me, they're not the same, they're not playing with the same intensity, they're not winning the ball back as much as they used to, and you detected a decline in it. I didn't actually agree with you, I didn't know, but you saw something, and you've been borne out by the results this season. They're not the team they were last season, John, or indeed any other season under Guardiola. What do you think it is? Do you think it's complacency after winning the treble last year?
Well, it's not so much complacency, Eamon, but if you look at the team that won the Champions League, De Bruyne is injured.
Yes.
Gundogan is gone. Mahrez is gone.
Yes.
They're three major players, Eamon. I don't think he's replaced them. Well, it's very difficult to replace them anyway.
Yes.
I think the second thing is when you do what they did last season, which was to win the treble, which was fantastic, the close season goes very, very quickly, closer now than ever before. You probably get about 4 or 5 weeks, 6 weeks at the most, rest. And then you're back into it again.
Yes.
Now, I found it like playing for Leeds, which is, we would say we won the league one of the years. And the last 6, 7, 8 matches, you're really up for it because you're coming into the end of the season to win the title.
Yeah.
Now, and then it's very, very, you get the summer rest, but the summer rest comes along very, very quickly to start again.
Yes.
And you don't have the same attitude to it because it's the start of the season. There's plenty of matches to come, as you did when you left the season.
Yes, yeah.
And I think that happens to Manchester City. Haven't won the treble. There's 3 of the major players not there at the moment. And you're not up for it in the way that you should.
Yeah.
And I think that's one of the major reasons for City. I think as the season goes on now, Eamon, and they did win, not very well at the weekend, I find that they'll pick it up again now because you have to. You know, the manager himself could be not as keen as he was at the end of the season, but the whole club, I think, now I think they'll start picking it up as well. But they don't. They've lost 3 major players there, Eamon.
Yep.
You know, De Bruyne, Gundogan, and Mahrez. You know, I don't know whether they've replaced them, you see. That's a biggie as well.
Yeah, they've tried to, but players of that calibre aren't easy to replace. It is worth saying, I agree with your analysis now, but it is worth saying, though, that they've had plenty of success in the past and they've never had trouble getting themselves up and usually start the league and continue very on top.
Yeah, but they never won the treble before.
No, that's right. And they never lost 3 players of that calibre.
So there's especially winning the Champions League, because the big thing was on them for a few years. They wouldn't be a great team or they wouldn't be a great manager unless they won the Champions. Well, they did that, and there's 3 players gone. That's my take on it.
Right. Let me just move on to the 2 games Villa won this week. They beat Manchester City 1-0 at home on Wednesday, and then they beat Arsenal 1-0 on Saturday. It was a hell of a game in terms of what was on it, but the 2 teams looked tired, I'd have to say that. But Villa, under their new coach Unai Emery, who has a great record in Spain, he had a bad time at Arsenal, but he's won the Europa League 4 times, and he was manager of Sevilla and a very successful manager. He also briefly managed PSG, but they win the league every year anyway. He's done a hell of a job there, John, and it showed against Arsenal. Now, I would contend, I think we both agree, watching the games over the weekend, Newcastle Spurs, for example, Newcastle looked out on their feet before they started. And Villa Arsenal, that game lacked the intensity you'd expect, because if Arsenal had won it, they were going to go top of the league in front of Liverpool. And of course, if Villa won, as they did, they went into 3rd place, and they're just 2 points behind Liverpool and 1 point behind Arsenal. This Villa team is organised, John, well set up.
Yeah, he's done really well with them, Eamon. You know, he hasn't spent much money. I think he was unlucky a few years ago. He was at Arsenal probably at the wrong time.
Yeah,
he didn't do very well there. But gone to Villa, he really has done a big job with them, Eamon.
Yes,
they're actually, you know, getting up there with the big boys, Arsenal and Liverpool and all these big teams. And he hasn't spent much money or anything doing what he's done. But they're well organised. They don't give much away. And he's done a big job. To have them in the race for the title against the big clubs like Arsenal can spend, Man U can spend, Liverpool can spend.
Yeah.
So he's done a really big job, Eamon.
Yeah,
very
and
big job.
They basically, I thought Arsenal, and Arteta said after the game, we should have beat them. We had the ball most of the time. They did. Arsenal had possession an awful lot. But Villa were very dogged. This fella, John McGinn, he's a Scottish international. He's a tough guy. He's a midfield player. He scored a goal after 7. It's a very good goal, but it's a hard case. He's a very good player. You'd want him on your side. You'd want him on your side if you were in a fight on the street as well. But they had too much intensity. But they have a back 4 and a high line, John. It's very rigid, but it's not like the high line Liverpool play where Van Dijk controls it and they tend to run out. Villa don't run out. They hold their ground. They're half turned in case balls are played in behind them. So they're not going to. It's an entirely different system. But against Arsenal, it worked. And you could tell it was from the training ground. You could tell they'd done a lot of work on it and they had confidence in each other. And it just goes to demonstrate one thing, that what you do between Monday and Friday matters, doesn't it?
Oh, yeah. Well, he's been there now long enough, Eamon, to have them playing the way he wants them to play.
Yes.
And it does take time to get players who have been under previous managers are doing it in a certain way. Yeah. And then to get them to do them the way, if you're changing it, which he obviously has, to do what you need to be done. And the players then get confidence in it and confidence in the manager because he's doing it in the right way and it's not too complicated. Usually if it's too complicated, it doesn't work. So keep it as simple as you possibly can. I think that's what he's done. Depends on the players. And he's got them on his side. I think when he was at Arsenal, he never got that. I mean, I don't think he ever got the players on his side to do what needed to be done. So he's gone to the right club and he's got to the right players.
Yeah, and at the right time. It's worth pointing out, John, that his predecessor at Arsenal was Arsene Wenger. So he went straight in after Wenger left, and that was a hard act.
Yeah, it was a hard job for him.
To follow.
Yeah. This is perfect for him. Obviously, he's gone in there. Yeah. He's changed it around a bit. He's got them playing well, and they're having a go at the title. I mean, it's a long time since Villa were in that position. Now, very, very good job.
Yeah, in 1982, I think they won the title, or was it 1981? And then they went on and won the European Cup. But I don't think this team has that quality. But they've done really well, and they dealt a blow both to Manchester City and Arsenal within 5 days, which is pretty good going. Let me ask you, John, about Manchester United. the reason I'm asking you is I watched their game against Bournemouth on Saturday night when Sky replayed the whole game. And there I was at 10 o'clock watching football. And I thought United were absolutely shocking. Now, Bournemouth, a very small club, beat them 3-0. It could have been more. They had a goal disallowed very late on. Fernandes got booked, and a lot of people have suggested he got booked because it means he misses the Liverpool game next Sunday. And that was kind of lurking in the background. But Manchester United, John, he's doing the strangest things. He's left Varane on the bench now for about 4 or 5 matches, 6 maybe. Varane is a World Cup winner. He's 30 years of age. He's a model professional. And he's sitting there and he brings everybody on, but he doesn't bring him on. He's got a kid called Sancho who's on 280 grand a week, and he won't bring him back into the squad because he won't say sorry. And the fight was about whether he was putting it all in training. He said he was. The manager said he wasn't. And because the young fella won't say sorry, he's been banned from training with the first team or ever having a chance of playing. This is Eric Ten Hag. He also talked last week about banning journalists, and his team is useless. What could be done?
Well, they're not good, Eamon. That's for sure, and they're not going the right way. And Manchester United are the top team. There's a lot of expectations. It hasn't happened. They got to win during the week against Chelsea.
Yeah,
and Chelsea are even worse than them.
Yeah, and Chelsea were beaten again by Everton yesterday.
Oh yeah, well, that's another day's
while we're on Chelsea, just let me say I think we both have some high regard for Mauricio Pochettino, the Chelsea coach. What he said after the Everton game was, we need to go out and buy some players. They just spent
He didn't say that. Was he joking?
He did. No, he did.
I can't believe
now,
that.
I
think what he wants to do is get rid of some of the players.
Yeah.
You can't have 36, 38 top pros.
They've already spent $1 billion in the last 3 transfer windows. This American billionaire has spent $1 billion. And that's what Pochettino said after match. But back to the point, back to Manchester United, for example.
Yeah.
This guy has spent 400 million. So he's had his chances. He's making very strange decisions. I can't see a reason why. They play Bayern Munich tomorrow night. And if they don't win, and even if they do, if they don't win, they're out of the Champions League. And if that happens, their season is virtually over. Although they're 6th in the table, I don't know how they are 6th.
Well, he's a lot to do. I mean, he's in big trouble. He did say the other day that the players are not good enough.
Yeah,
he did say that. He's bought most of them.
Yeah,
and spent a fair bit of money. The fact is, he's in big trouble. I mean, the display the other day against Bournemouth, as you said, they were beaten 3. It could have been more.
Yes.
And at this stage of the season, and he's been there long enough to be able to sort out the players and get the players in that he wants. Is a bit like Emery at about the same time as Villa. Yes. He's made a job of it, and he hasn't. I mean, he's saying some strange things. Some of these things he says are strange. But the main thing is the players are not doing it for him.
Yeah. Now, John, you're a former Manchester United player. You played in a successful team that won the FA Cup in '63. The club wasn't at its height in that as post the Munich air crash. But the pressure of playing for Manchester United is real, isn't it?
Oh, yeah, it's huge. I mean, Man U were probably the top team in the world. And
yes.
The huge support all over the world.
Yeah.
And to be playing the way they're playing and losing matches to Bournemouth at home is big trouble. I mean, really big trouble. I can't see him. I can't see him lasting.
No, he won't. He won't
there
last.
long enough to get the players in. He spent a fair bit of money. He's in there long enough to get rid of the players he doesn't want and get the players in he doesn't want. It does take a bit of time, but that time is gone.
Yeah.
And when you see them against Bournemouth, you're back to lower,
worse
than when he started.
Yeah.
And, this is Manchester United. I'd be amazed if they first of all, there was a thing last week in the papers about some of the players going to him, to say that they're doing too much training, or that the club too often, whatever it was.
Yeah.
You know, now I think he did tell them to clear it off, but the fact that they had the cheek and the nerve to go to a manager and say, "I think we're coming in too much."
Yeah.
I mean, that doesn't happen with top managers.
I don't think
if they went with a top manager. Sorry?
If they went to Alex Ferguson, I don't think it would go down very well.
Exactly.
Had you gone to Fergie saying, "We're working too hard at training"?
Yeah. Or they were in too often, whatever he said. I mean, he didn't do it. I think he might have told them to clear it off. But the fact that they had the cheek to go to a manager and say, "Look, we're doing this too much," it doesn't happen.
No. No.
It doesn't happen.
Yeah.
If you've done that, you've lost the players, really. If they think they have the cheek and the nerve to go and approach a manager like that, you're in big, big trouble. And he is, as we've just said, he is in big, big trouble there.
He is, yeah. Manchester City, John, they scraped a win against Luton yesterday. Jack Grealish got the winning goal. They won 2-1 at Luton. It's a tight little ground. I played there very often, and I understand you told me a few weeks ago that you were only sent off once in your career, and it was at Luton.
It was
correct?
Yeah. Yeah, totally right, Eamon. I was at West Brom.
Yeah.
I was playing at West Brom, and I played there against Luton for Manchester United.
Yes.
And they were relegated. So I was playing against them again in the second division.
For West Brom.
And they had a big lad at centre forward. I can't think of his name, but he was a hard nut, real hard nut, Eamon.
Yeah.
And I told the West Brom lads before we went, "Look, just be careful. This guy is trouble. He gets you into all sorts of trouble. So just be wary." But after about 10 minutes, Eamon, the ball was played up to him on his chest, and I'm coming back to him. And I couldn't resist it. Yeah, and it was a bad tackle.
Yeah.
But I didn't expect to be sent off. And of course, I think we lost the match. And of course, I'm player manager with the lads, and I'm telling them before now, just be careful, don't do this, don't do that. And
you did it yourself.
They let me know, Eamon. And I knew myself. So
yeah,
that's my memories of Luton.
Right.
But with City, you're saying, yeah, they put it up to City. They had a go. City were very poor in the first half, and went one down, as you know.
Yeah.
And picked it up in the second half. They played quite well in the second half to go on and win it.
Yes.
But you wouldn't regard it as a good day.
No.
For City.
No, and I have to say about that West Brom team that you were player manager of, you got promotion to what was then the first division, is now the Premier League, and you finished, I think, 5th to 6th the following season. One thing we did together this weekend is we watched Tottenham Hotspur play Newcastle. They won 4-1, and Ange Postecoglou, their coach, is someone who is a most attractive character. He's had desperate injuries. Maddison and Van der Veer, a brilliant centre-half, both out with bad injuries. They got a hammering when they went down to 9 men against 9 men and 2 of his best players injured, and they lost 4-1 to Chelsea. But he's built it back up again, and they gave Newcastle a hiding.
Oh, played really well, Eamon. Yeah, a big hiding, 4-1.
Yeah.
But the rest of it, well, Newcastle looked very, very tired, and the manager said afterwards, with all the matches they've had a lot of injuries, haven't been able to play.
Yes.
But Spurs certainly didn't look tired, Eamon.
No.
I mean, what they do as soon as they win the ball, as we saw at the weekend, there's 4 or 5, 6 players up after the ball, attack at them.
Yeah.
And they totally outclassed Newcastle, who've had a bad time. They've had a few bad results now because most of the players are off. A lot of the players are off injured. But Spurs have been very impressive. He hasn't won them for a few games, Eamon.
Yeah.
Spurs, but they really won against Newcastle.
Yeah, and what's interesting
really
about the real top coaches, Richarlison has been at Spurs quite a while now, for a few seasons. I think both of us have looked at him as a Brazilian international indeed, but he's very temperamental. He has been very temperamental. He's never really delivered on his promise. But yesterday he scored, played superbly, worked his heart out. And it is amazing the effect a good coach and a good manager can have on a character as dubious, should we say, as Richarlison.
Yeah, he has them on his side, and that's for sure.
Yeah.
Whatever he wants them to do, they're trying their best to do it. There's no doubt about that. And he's changed them totally. Well, compared to all the other managers, I mean, the way they attack when they have the ball, it's 4 or 5 players, or maybe 6 players, maybe 7, and he's encouraged them to do that all the time. Now, he has lost a couple of matches, and he will lose some matches doing what he does, unless he gets even better players in to do what's needed to be done. But his approach to it, I tell you, he'll really, really excite the Spurs fans because that's what they like. Yeah. And it really came off for him yesterday against Newcastle.
Yeah.
Really, really very good.
Yeah.
Excellent.
The kind of football that Spurs have always been renowned for, really push and run. It goes back to the 50s, actually.
Yeah.
Let me ask you about Liverpool, John. I'm a Liverpool supporter. I've declared an interest here. They beat Crystal Palace 2-1 at lunchtime on Saturday. Were they a bit lucky?
They were lucky up to the point, I didn't think they were playing well at all.
Mm.
And Jordan Ayew, is that his name?
Ayew, yeah, he was sent off.
Ayew.
Yeah. Was
sent off, Eamon.
Yeah.
And, Palace were good up to that particular point. They were playing better than Liverpool.
Yeah.
And that changed the game.
Right.
In a big way.
And it didn't look like he deserved to be sent off. It was 2 yellows, a second yellow card, and the first one was for nothing, and the second one was virtually for nothing.
Yeah, it was ridiculous. They've got to change the rules a bit on that. But in the game, I think he was got a yellow card for not being far enough away from a free kick.
Yeah.
And then he fouled somebody, which was touch and go, whether it was a foul.
Yes.
And that's not right now. We got a red card for those 2 yellows. And I think they've got to look at that particular. They've got to look at a few rules, but that one in particular. And if the referees are going to do it, I think they should say send them off for 10, 15 minutes, Eamon.
Yes.
At most. If the 2 fouls are not bad fouls, really bad fouls, that you deserve to be sent off. I think it's too harsh for him to be sent off for the fouls or the cards that he got. But it certainly helped Liverpool. Definitely, Liverpool picked it up from there. They weren't playing well, and in the end, they got the win out of it. And they did well from that point on, Eamon. But they weren't playing well at that stage.
Just on that point, John, of yellow cards in 15 minutes, rugby has it right, I think. If you get a yellow card in rugby, you're off the pitch for 10 minutes. And then you're allowed back on. They do have a red card option if you commit some terrible, really dangerous foul. But the yellow card is a kind of in-betweener. And just on VAR, John, I said to you a few weeks ago that I think VAR should be scrapped. And I was very enthusiastic for VAR. And now I think it's ruining the game. Interestingly, Gary Lineker said precisely the same thing on Saturday. He said he apologised. He said, I feel I should apologise. I thought VAR would revolutionise the game for the better, but he said I was totally wrong. I think it should be scrapped. Last time I asked you, you weren't quite sure. But the more we see of it, John, and the more, there was 10 minutes added on at half-time to a game at the weekend, and then another 8.
Yeah, well, that's a separate issue, Eamon. That's nothing to do with VAR. I'll go back to VAR. VAR is an instrument, Eamon, to the game.
Yeah.
It's the people who are doing the work on VAR are at fault. They're making a mess of it, Eamon.
They can't work it. If they can't work the system and the system clearly isn't working, then you scrap it.
Well, I agree with that. I think if it's going to go the way it's going, and it's down to the referee's situation in it, then it'll have to be scrapped. But we're going to see one horrible situation if and when this thing is scrapped. Eamon.
Yeah.
You won't know whether it was a foul or it wasn't a foul. We won't know. We knew for VAR on. It's the people who have got into VAR now, who are in charge of VAR, there's no doubt they've made a mess of it.
Yeah, well, we knew for 100 years before VAR, John.
Yeah, well, look at all the situations we had then.
But the games weren't.
We used to have a situation where at one stage, was the ball over the line? Was it not over the line?
Yeah, well, there's two things.
My take on it now, I think they should have a rest from it and go over it and over it and over it, whether it takes a year or 18 months, and get rid of all the guys that are making a mess of it.
Yeah.
And have it done properly.
Well, they're all former Premier League referees, but leave that aside.
I know. That's the problem.
In fact, they're current Premier League referees.
Yes.
I'd make two exceptions. Offside, I'd say keep it. With the lines, it can be good. And the other thing is the goal line technology, which if the ball does go over the line now, the referees watch it goes buzz. Other than that, throw it away.
Just interrupt you there. Last year, they tried to change the offside rule without anybody knowing about it.
Yeah.
Do you remember the match? They said, well, I think it was Manchester United against Manchester City. I think it was Rashford. The ball was played forward. He was about 15 yards offside. And at that stage, I don't know whether they've changed it since.
They haven't.
They didn't give offside.
That's right.
What they said, if he doesn't touch the ball between now and the goal, he's not offside.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Doesn't matter.
No, they still.
That's the crazy type of stuff they're bringing in.
Yeah.
That's the crazy, and that's the people who are in charge of VAR, Eamon. But I would dread it. I would dread it when they stop VAR, because there's some really good things from VAR that we like, say the offside now, when they haven't doing what they were doing last year.
Yeah.
Like, there's loads of offsides you've seen, well, certainly I've seen, but I didn't think he was offside there.
Yes, yeah.
There's lots of good things they do, but it's the people involved in it, Eamon. They're making a total mess of it. That's my take on it.
Right, and no doubt it will continue to be a hot topic for a long time, because it is actually changing the game. I mean, a lot of those added minutes, those 10 added minutes in the halftime, I think it was, that I saw this week, rather full-time, are devoted to looking at VAR and looking at VAR again and again. Just for lot...
I mean, just before you finish on that, the rule that they've introduced now, right, to extend the game because there's wasted time in that.
Yeah.
There's nothing to do with VAR.
Oh, well, it has, John.
VAR doesn't come into that, Eamon, at all.
It does.
That's what the referees have decided, because people are wasting time. And
as well.
Putting time on the clock.
But if you have to go and look at VAR at the touchline, and if you have to wait for the decision, that's all added time.
Well, it's added time, Eamon, but it doesn't go into 16 minutes.
It's going.
VAR.
Okay.
VAR doesn't go in that long, and it's what they're trying to do is stop teams wasting time. That type of situation.
Well, it's not working.
If that's the case, and we talked about this before, if somebody's wasting time, injured or doing whatever he's doing to waste time, give him a yellow card. If he does it again, give him another, and he gets sent off. That's what they're trying to do. It's wasting time. It's not putting it on for. They're not putting the time on for extra for the VAR situation.
Okay, let me ask you a final question, John, because there's so many people who are Leeds fans out there, and they're beginning to hope again. Yeah. And Leeds are third in the Championship. They're Ipswich and Leicester. Leicester are leading. Ipswich are second, and Leeds are third. They have a new coach, Daniel Farke. He was at Norwich. He got Norwich promoted twice, and then they sacked him, because sometimes the worst thing. He's done a really good job, and you're very hopeful, aren't you? Yeah,
I think he's the best thing that's happened to Leeds for a long time, Eamon.
Right.
He did a great job of VAR. You never hear anything from him. He's never in the press. He's never moaning about this. He's never controversial. He's just getting on with the job. And definitely the players see, well, obviously the results show it, are responding to him. But he did a terrific job at Norwich. He didn't get any real credit for it.
No.
But you never hear him in the papers. You never hear him moaning about anything. He just gets on with the job. And I think he'll do a great job. He is doing. I think he's doing a great job for Leeds.
You think he'll get them up to the Premier League, and that will make a lot of people happy. There's a lot of people of a certain age who started following Leeds United when you were playing for them, John. So you've been responsible for about 20 years of misery. in people's lives.
Well,
Leeds.
Well, since Don Ravi left, it's obviously gone downhill. But we had sort of at least 10 great years with Don, and it doesn't last forever, as we know. But they made some strange. They got new owners in. They made some strange decisions over the years, but hopefully, Mr. Farke will make a difference. Well, he is making a difference to them now, and what they've got to do now is back him all the way and get that Leeds grip, because the fanatical crowd at Leeds, as we know.
I know that, and they still turn out at 25,000, 27,000, 30,000 for championship matches, and that means that Mr. Farke might do something that you caused. A lot of hurt, disappointment from people who started following Leeds because you were there. So you'll be all right. You're hoping.
I'll keep my fingers crossed, Eamon.
That's all you can do, John. If it comes to that, I don't think it'll be enough. But Mr. Farke might do something better. Anyway, John, as always, it's a pleasure to talk to you. Just final question. You're not prepared for it. Didn't ask you. Who do you think is going to win the Premier League this year? You don't have to commit.
City will be in there, Eamon. I think they'll regroup. If that's the right word at the moment. I think the big two. If City don't win it, I'd say definitely Arsenal and Liverpool.
Right.
Would be real contenders.
Right.
I think it'll be great. I think it'll be a great finish.
Yeah, I do. I think Liverpool have they have depth in the squad. They're very attacking team, but there's things you could criticise. We'll get back to the Alexander-Arnold issue in the fullness of time, probably next week when they play United, and that should be a good game to talk about. We're very grateful to you, John, as always, for joining us, and your Leeds, the people suffering as Leeds fans because of you. I'm sure they'll be very happy this morning to hear that there's hope on the horizon. We're grateful to John, of course, great player, great coach as well, for joining us.